Paramore is an American rock band from Franklin, Tennessee, formed in 2004.
Hello and welcome to the third episode of Kids from Yesterday.
Somehow we have made it to 3.
Somehow we have.
So this is our Paramore special.
Woo. Our favorite band? Well, they're my favorite band. What about you?
Yeah, they're one of my they're my top 5.
Okay. Your top 5 favorite bands.
Yeah, so they're up there. They were definitely like the first band I ever wanted to go see live. Like when they announced they were playing the O2. So I am getting ahead of myself. What are we going to talk about today, Clodagh?
That's later on in the podcast, Courtney. Well, today, folks, we're going to be talking about Paramore, our love for them, a little bit about them, their history, the scandals, as well as the memories that we have and the memories that some of you guys have sent into us.
Yeah, we harassed you all on social media. We're at Kids from Yesterday Pod on Instagram, Kids from Yesterday Podcast on Facebook.
And Kids from Yesterday.
No, Kids
from My Day. Sorry, on Twitter.
On Twitter. So on all of these channels, we harangued you all until you gave up your stories. And I've got a couple, and I think you've got a couple.
Yes, I do.
And I have a couple of like nice things that happened because of people I met at Paramore as well. So we can discuss that. So I guess we're just gonna
go into it. So at the moment the band is Hayley, it's Taylor and it's Zach, but if you've been a long time Paramore fan, you'll know that there has been so many change-ups in that lineup. So I guess as I started out, it was Josh, Hayley, Jeremy and John Hembry.
Honestly, I don't.
And Jason Bynum, I think, and then they swapped out one for 100 Lamb. It's a lot to keep up with because they've had so many changes. But most notably, I think when I got into them, the lineup was Hayley, Zach, Josh, and Jeremy, and then of course they added Taylor to the lineup. Then the brothers Josh and Zach left. But at the moment, it's just a threesome. But they released their first album they got together in 2004, released their first album, All We Know Is Falling, in 2005. Their second album then was released in 2007, and that was Riot.
I think that's where people started paying attention.
Yeah,
so I think
definitely where people started
they played. So that was in 2007. They played the RDS in 2008, and I remember people in school being like, "Oh my god, I saw Paramore yesterday, and it was so cool." And I was like, oh, "What the fuck are you talking about?
Paramore?
What's a Paramore?" But it was just after that, I think, that I started listening. It was probably around the time of the final Riot, I think, actually. Remember Kiss magazine?
Yes.
Kiss magazine sent me a copy of the final Riot.
Wow.
And I was fucking obsessed with that thing. Like, I listened to that album, like, on the walk to school, on the way back from school. I distinctly remember sitting in my junior cert with inside my head able to hear like Hallelujah and like
wow,
like the whole I knew the whole thing from like back to front, start to finish. I knew all the like things that she said on stage, and I just like I knew it inside out, and it was the first time that I had ever freaking like just like really thrown myself. That was like around the time that I started developing all these extra interests. So like I was interested in Supernatural and I was interested in Paramore at that time, and I just remember that being a thing that I really loved.
Yeah, that was such a great album. I remember watching the DVD over and over and over again. And I think as well, like, I got into them as well. Misery Business definitely, like, got them a lot of attention from, you know, they had hit success with that. Even though I think they had Crush as well, that was on Guitar Hero for Nintendo DS. I had that game and I used to play it, and I would play that song. They also released That's What You Get from that album, which was, I remember the video for That's What You Get. Actually, I remember buying all the music videos. Like, they had an album of the music videos that you could buy on iTunes for like €15 or something, and I had them all. I used to watch them over and over. But I think that video was recorded like the day after like some big row they had as a band. And I remember when I found that out and I started watching it, I really can't remember the specifics of it, but I remember watching it back going, oh my god, they were killing each other behind the scenes. And just seeing this like happy face, and you know, and they had been fighting.
And I feel like that's kind of an ongoing theme in Paramore, really. Is
Fighting.
A lot of fighting.
Yeah.
Cool
People
rows.
seem to like think that Brand New Eyes was like the modern day version of Rumours, which was the Fleetwood Mac album. And if you don't know Fleetwood Mac, the lead singer and one of the guitarists had been dating, and they had like, you know, explosive rows. I think they were, I don't know if they were married, but they're definitely dating. They had explosive rows. That whole album was about saving the band. And people had kind of likened that to Paramore's Brand New Eyes.
Yeah.
How that band, that album saved the band, or, you know, kept them together.
But actually, I was reading an article about it, and it was just after Josh had announced that he was leaving. Well, no, Hayley announced that Josh was leaving. So Hayley had written a statement before Josh had actually announced that him and Zach were leaving the band. And she said that when we thought Brand New Eyes could fix everything, we put all our eggs into that basket. So, like, they were trying really, really hard to bridge all the mess. But, like, we discovered years later that the mess was actually that only Hayley was signed to the label and the rest of them were down as session musicians. And that's the same argument they had with Jeremy.
Yeah.
When that happened years later too. So, like, understanding what went on behind the scenes was really difficult to kind of piece together.
Yeah, so I remember when like their first album was, they've kind of been, I guess, kind of cursed in a sense, in that nearly all of their albums are about either the band breaking up, fights, or trying to stay together. Like their first album, All We Know Is Falling, that was about Jeremy leaving the band and how devastated they were. Like even the album cover, you can see it's like the picture of the sofa with like a shadow, and that shadow represents Jeremy walking away from the band. And you know, he ended up going back to them, which was great. And the same with Zach, left and went back. But I guess looking back, Zach obviously left in solidarity with Josh.
Yeah, so I actually found an article from back when Zach left, and the whole thing was about he didn't leave because his brother did, which I think everybody thought.
Yeah,
but
I
definitely thought it as well, because why wouldn't you know, if you're in a band with a family member and they leave, I wonder, would you feel obliged to, especially if it was like your big brother and you thought, you know. But he said that I love all those guys and girl. I don't know if they think so highly of me, but I hope they think of me reasonably well. In my last year, I know I had a really bad attitude. And he was like, well, I said sorry for like being miserable and complaining all the time, and I never hated them, and we disagreed on stuff. But he felt like it wasn't an emotional decision, and he thought about it and he knew it was the right thing to do. And obviously he's back in the band now, so you know, something good must have happened, and they must have sorted out the problems that they had at the time. But I do remember that being a whole thing. Like, do you remember when you heard the announcement that he'd left?
Yeah, I remember when that announcement appeared that the two of them had left. I think I read it on an article on Kerrang. I was so shocked. I was absolutely shooketh. Like, looking back, like when he rejoined, and then when Jeremy left, and it was just a twosome, when it was just Taylor and Hayley, I was like, oh my god, this is it, they're gonna crack. Like, how can they have a band with just the two of them? And then Zach went back, and I was like, oh, phew, we're not losing Paramore yet.
It's all gonna be okay.
Yeah, it's gonna be fine. I would be devastated if they broke up completely. If they completely disbanded, I would be like heartbroken.
So would I, especially as they like I think I've deleted it because I mean, I just couldn't bear it that was still on my Facebook. But I remember when I saw the announcement that he'd left, like, I remember how devastated I felt, because I got the same thing. I thought they were done, but I wrote this really angsty post about how, like, Paramore didn't need them anyway, and it's not about them, it's about Hayley and like her relationships with the rest of them, and you know, and like, Paramore would be fine without you, they're gonna survive. And I read it back like maybe 6 years later, and I was just like, what's wrong with you? Were you okay, hun? Like, what? So yeah, that was my reaction to it.
Yeah,
but like, it was like the first time something, like, I mean, we talked about this a lot in her last episode about how, like, music was like there as your foundation and these people were support. It was the first time that support had been like threatened in any way. I think people had a lot of opinions about it, especially as Paramore had gotten so popular at this point. And like they're obviously ever growing in popularity, but I remember at this stage, because it was in like Enemy and it was on MTV and it was on all this stuff, like this thing has happened that like I think even like my parents had heard about it. And like
it's like quite bizarre how affected we get by these things. Like I really don't remember which band it was. It was either UME86 or My Chem or something. Saying at one of their gigs, like, you know, your parents may break up. Maybe it was even All Time Low, but your parents may break up, your friends might leave you, you know, but you always have music and your favorite bands. And I remember thinking, I won't always have my favorite bands because they keep breaking up, you know. So it would be just, yeah, I like, obviously now if it happened I'd be like, you know, shit happens and I really hope it doesn't. Like Hailey the other day has said that she wasn't, it was like last week, the week before, had said that they weren't in studio recording their 6th album, which I kind of thought they were.
Yeah, but like I also feel like at this point with Paramore, I just kind of expect them to pop up when they're ready.
Yeah.
Like they've been on, like they're on a major label. Like they're on Warner. Well, if you buy Ramen if you're Americans, but like I say Raymond because that's how I say things. Like they've been on FBR since forever, and I feel like when you get to that point where you consistently deliver, I feel like the pressure's kind of off a little bit. Like they have to produce something amazing. But I feel like they get longer to do it because it's not just executives in a room writing the music for you. It's like they're in there and Hailey's in there writing the song. And like writing the song. The one song she writes. No. Like she's in there and she's actually actively involved in it, and they like.
Yeah, I can see that because like when it comes to pop music and let's say One Direction, they have a very short time where they're going to be relevant. Do you know what I mean? Like the few years that they were out, they had to bang out as many albums as they could to, you know, because it's the whole, you know, pop bands especially have like a life cycle, you know, their steady growth and then, you know, whatever, the decline in the market and stuff like that. Like I remember there was one point where you couldn't move in a shop for One Direction merchandise, and that's because they had to make as much money as they can with a small captive audience. Whereas, you know, when you're 15 and you're 25, they're not going to be able to make as much money as you get older because you may not be as into pop music. It's like you said in a couple of episodes ago, it's made to be, you know, fun for a short period of time. So bands like Paramore, who have kept their fan base, who have a large, I guess, demographic of fans, they don't have to be, I guess, as frequent with delivering albums. But I just kind of expected that that's what they were doing. But if thinking about it, Zach's on tour at the moment. He has a side band called Half Noise. Like they played here in Dublin at the start of May. So yeah, I guess it makes sense that they're not in studio recording their 6th album. But I kind of had thought that they might have been. Now that's not to say that they haven't already done it.
I was digging last week through old LiveJournal posts and I found some stuff of Hailey's from like 2012. So when they were, was that their self-titled?
Yes.
Yeah, so that was when they were recording their self-titled, and it took her years. Like she literally spent a whole year at home by herself. Like she moved to LA and she was like, she just spent her time in her house like writing and like working on music and singing and being in the studio. But like for a lot of that time she was alone. And I was reading all these posts and like it was just kind of like her, I mean, like a LiveJournal back in the day, it used to be kind of like a diary or like a Tumblr post where people would just write stuff.
Yeah.
Like people could respond, but it wasn't like overwhelming where like you tweet hi and like 7,000 likes, 894 retweets, and like, you know, you have like 8,000 people going, oh my god, hi, oh my god, I hope you're okay, I hope you're drinking water, which is like a thing that I've seen.
Oh yeah,
it's really horrifying. I feel like I would never want to say anything online ever if that was me, but just because it's just the sheer volume of people who like
respond.
Yeah, and they want to interact with you.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'd be so overwhelmed by that. But I feel like back when LiveJournal was a thing, there was such a small, even though like they had tons of fans, it was such a small volume of people using these sites that were bothering to respond. And like she would respond back. But like she was talking about the process and like how tired she was and how hard it had been and how much she hopes people will really like it. And she released lyrics to different songs and would kind of be like, well, this is what we're going for, and then at one point she was like, we're not going to release any more lyrics, I want you to hear it in its entirety when we're done, kind of thing. But it was very like hopeful, but it did seem to be a really long drawn out process, which even like that was their fourth, and like after the success of Brand New Eyes, and considering all the mess that had happened with the band and people leaving and it restructuring again, you would think probably that the label would have been putting a lot of pressure on them, but it just seems like they've always had the space to grow, which a lot of bands don't get, because you know they might get one. And I think part of it comes from the fact that they were always on a major label. They always had that room to do what the people in the boardroom wanted them to do, and then they also were like, well, this is what we want to do too. And it seems like they've never gotten it wrong. Like even with After Laughter, like I know we're jumping ahead a little bit, but like with After Laughter, it was so different.
It was so good though.
But that's the thing, and it like brought in new people who had never heard them before, who weren't interested before, and it's such a departure. Like you look back at All We Know Is Falling, and then you look at After Laughter, like there's like 12 years in the difference.
Yeah.
But it's like the fact that's the same band, but you can still appreciate that they've grown and that they've adopted this new sound, but it doesn't feel like it's wrong. You know, like you hear some, and we've talked about this probably in our first episode, I think, where like some bands do concept albums, they do something.
Oh, we did. We talked about All Time as well.
I was really angry. I'm still angry. It's been weeks now, and I'm still angry.
But this is the Renegade album Renegade, is that right? That All Time Low did that you were talking about. Was that
Last String Renegade. But like even like Renegade, that was like a Paramore single.
That
was
like the Singles Club.
The whole Singles Club thing.
Monster.
But like that was such a good, and now that was amazing.
Yeah.
But it was such a good, like they had those 3 songs, and then it was like, okay, we can hear how the sound is going to change, and then so when we got to the actual self-titled, it didn't feel.
Yeah, it was like it was kind of like a light landing, because we had been expecting that there would be, because obviously there's, you know, some of the key founding members of the band were gone, you know, of course there was going to be a change there. I mean, like Josh wrote 2 of their biggest hits previous to that. I mean, like Misery Business, and I think Ignorance was like a rework of the guitar for Misery Business, like the intro. I think he just reworked the chords or something like that. Like he had made those 2 hits, and of course, you know, not having that mind working on the next album, of course it was going to change, but it didn't let me down. When I first heard Now, I was a little bit like, what? And then I listened to it again and again and again, and it was incredible. And then I heard Still Into You, and I remember I was hungover on a friend's couch, like didn't really know them at all, and I was on their couch just like bawling my eyes out, like, it's so good, I'm just so happy for Paramore. And they were like, get this freak out of my house.
Yeah, I mean, I liked the soft landing of the 3, and they weren't so much of a departure from like Brick by Boy and Brick. I feel like they were still in that like realm.
Yeah.
So it still felt like Paramore, but it was like you could appreciate they were moving on and they were doing something different. And I think even like now the fact that Hayley's like, well, like Misery Business was written when I was 17, and I thought you could like steal a guy from a girl or whatever. So like the not wanting to call a girl a whore anymore.
Yeah.
And like normalize that. And I think that was like a really big trend kind of back then, that like it was okay to call girls whores. And the fact that she's like, well, that doesn't represent me anymore. I think that's really interesting, because it was such a popular song.
Yeah.
And such a big like,
because they pulled that from their set list. So if you haven't been to a Paramore show, Paramore, which I'm sure you know, but anyway, Paramore, their last song used to be Misery Business. They'd pull a fan up on the stage, and a lot of the time it was like a big fight for attention at the front.
Yeah.
It was a big competition between people, like signs of, oh, bring this person on stage, bring that person on stage, and I'm kind of glad that it's stopped in a way, because there was such a scramble between people. And
and like
one of my friends did get up, I remember, but they pulled that from their show, but I wonder, they don't really play One of Those Crazy Girls live.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen any much acknowledgement, then again I haven't really looked for the idea that song is, in which we spoke about in our last podcast about mental health, that song stigmatizes mental health, in that it's kind of perpetuating the idea of, you know, the crazy girl narrative. And that song, I guess it's something that they should look to talk about.
I mean, yeah, when you're looking at it, you can see what they were trying to do.
Yeah.
And I mean, the Plenty of Pop Culture has really done a great job on the whole concept of the crazy ex-girlfriend.
Yeah.
Namely, the show Crazy Ex-Girlfriend.
Yeah.
And that in its entirety did an amazing job of breaking down a whole bunch of stigma. But I feel like it at some point will get to a stage where people realize that those songs where they called like girls crazy, or they were like this thing is psycho, or like all those things that really do stigmatize problems that people actually have, or stigmas that are associated with certain types of behavior, will disappear. And like, I know the song itself is about behaving irrationally.
Yeah.
And it's about trying to justify that, like, oh no, but I'm not irrational, which is what you're trying to say when you say that you're not crazy. What you're trying to say is that you're not irrational, and that's what the whole song seems to be about. But I don't think I've ever heard them play it live. I feel like it's not really
play them live. It's not really a thing. But again, like the way that we're having these conversations now about this, I'm not saying it's ahead of its time, but like there will come a time, exactly like you said, where people will realize, like, it's like the whole thing with like Eminem and his misogynistic lyrics. Like, people were singing those thinking they were, you know, great songs, but now in the wake of Me Too and all these things, people are realizing, oh shit, like they were awful, not great things to be singing.
Yeah.
And I feel like, again, the same thing will hopefully happen with this, as people will not come to their senses, but I guess kind of realize that it's not okay to talk about mental health in that way. It's not okay to talk about, because girls especially, we have that, because Hailey and Josh used to go out, and there's that whole thing of like who broke up with who, like what went on. We don't really know exactly what happened in the relationship, I guess, but there's this whole idea, I guess, that there's the crazy ex-girlfriend, and it's something that's perpetuated hugely amongst female characters in the media and in songs, and especially in that song.
Yeah. So just on the Hailey and Josh splitting up thing, like, I remember the Teenagers song that she wrote for Jennifer's Body. Like, I remember interpreting that, whether or not it was about him. I remember hearing it as being about them, because there was a bit about "you're all around me, underneath me," and I was like, that could literally be about like being on a bus, and like that person is like around you and literally sleeping underneath you. And I don't know where the hell I got that like mental image from, but it was just like, that's what I interpreted. And I remember like everybody reading everything into All of Brand New Eyes as being about Hailey and Josh kind of yelling at each other, when it was actually the band kind of yelling at each other.
Definitely. A bit. So you can see it in many of the songs in Brand New Eyes. One of the lyrics is "the truth never set me free, so I did it myself," and that was a quote from the Bible. You know, the truth will set you free. And Josh had come out and been like, you know, for her to go against her Christian values and say that the truth didn't set her free, he had like a major problem with that. And I think he had a problem as well with how Paramore had gone from being a band with Christian values and being a Christian rock band to not having Christian values and Hailey questioning her own faith, I guess.
I remember reading, actually, there was a whole lot of posts on her live journal where she was like, hey, like, if you don't believe this is not really like for you, and this is just me kind of talking about stuff, but it was about like her questioning her faith, and like she was really looking at stuff that was happening around her, and like how a lot of people in her community were saying that they were Christian, but they were doing horrible things to people, and like, you know, behaving in a horrible way. And she was like, well, how can I claim to be the same thing as them when I don't believe in the stuff that they believe in and stuff? So it was just interesting to see that, because although they were a Christian rock band, they were very not, you know, vocal about their, I mean, you knew that they were Christian and you knew that they had beliefs and stuff, but they never really talked about it much, and it didn't come across in the music, apart from like Hallelujah, I guess. And even then it didn't feel like it was supposed to be about anything to do with their faith. It was just like they happened to be Christian and they happened to have Christian values, but it didn't translate into their
work. And then when Josh left the band, then he formed his own band, Novel American, with a couple of other people, and then they went into studio for their self-titled album, Paramore. The session drummer for that was Nine Inch Nails drummer Ilan Rubin. So he obviously stepped in to record the album because they had no drummer. And they released that album in early 2013 with the single Now. I remember listening to it on BBC morning breakfast radio with Nick Grimshaw. They were doing the first play of that song.
Oh,
I remember
great.
listening. Yeah, I remember listening to it on the bus to college.
I remember, I think the first time I heard it was the video, because they released that like the day or
I think
so
they released
after.
that like a couple of hours later.
Yeah, so I remember watching the video and being like, wow, that's such a different thing.
Yeah,
But I
it was so different.
I feel like the thing about Paramore fans, and this is the thing that people make fun of a lot, that, you know, Paramore fans are really dedicated. I remember they used to call them like para whores and stuff, but
Yeah.
like, you know, they're so far up Paramore's ass and stuff. Like, yeah, I was, and I still am.
Exactly.
Don't judge me for it. But something we were talking about earlier as well is that I feel like the reason, like, I always think of Paramore fans as being quite respectful. Like, they're at like meet and greets, or they're at like shows and stuff. There's no pushing, there's no like hysteria, there's no, like, I never feel unsafe, I think, in a crowd of Paramore fans. And I think part of that is the fact that the band is mostly centered around Hayley, and there's no like competition kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, like, I feel like in a very heteronormative way, when you have like bands filled with guys, there's like a scarcity mentality where it's like, well, like, they can only fancy one of us, so we have to all like fight each other. Whereas I feel like with Paramore, it's like, you know, obviously like LGBT like Paramore fans there's loads of them, but it's the fact that it seems to be a lot quieter and more respectful.
Definitely. I think the band themselves as well have set great boundaries.
Yeah.
Because when they did Parahoy, which we'll get to later on, they had set boundaries of like how to act on the tour, like how to act on the boat. Like, if you see the band, like, don't freak out, like, just, you know, here's what to do, an example of what to do and what not to do. So like, don't freak out, or just say hey and talk about the pizza or something like that. I think they have themselves in that way set really good boundaries between themselves and their fans, which is, you know, the right way to do it, because I couldn't imagine being on a boat with tons of fans and them all coming at you from every angle.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty scary. So I think they're definitely right in that sense to do it. And we mentioned in our first episode, if you haven't listened to it yet, it's called It's Not a Phase, Mom. You should go back and listen to it. We both spoke about meeting Paramore, and we both had that kind of relaxed, calm experience where it was very chatty. And, you know, a lot of other bands that I know that I have met, there's just nothing like meeting Paramore, because they were either very rushed, you know, it's over a table, or, you know, whatever. I think meeting Cobra Starship, that was special, that's for another time. But meeting Paramore is definitely unlike anything I had experienced. It was just so calm, and there's definitely a lot of trust.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, I think it was 2013, and Paramore had been posting a lot of like, oh, thank you so much to these fans for coming to meet us in the airport. And I think it was 2013, but I had been out with a friend the night before, and I was supposed to go stay in her house afterwards, and then we were like, Paramore have just gotten on a flight to Dublin because they just posted it. So we literally went straight from, do you remember War, actually? So we went straight from War, like covered in paint and glitter and like, you know, full of really horrible cheap drinks, got into a taxi and went to the airport, except the taxi driver was like, what are you going to the airport for? And even though I was still kind of drunk, I didn't want to be like, I'm gonna go try and meet my favorite band. I was like, oh, we're gonna meet a friend who was on a J1 and she's on her way back now. We had this whole elaborate story. I just kept talking, and I was like, why are you, like, stop talking. But I told this guy that like we were gonna go meet her friend, and like she's flying in from wherever, and like, you know, her name is Hayley. Like, we just, I don't know, he didn't think we were weird, so he brought us to the airport, and I was really, really hungover the next morning, but there was only like 6 of us there, I think. And then Hayley came out. I still had videos from a while ago, and she was just so nice, but I had a change of clothes that I brought with me to wear, like, if I'd stayed in my friend's house.
Oh, okay.
And then she was like, oh, I want to take off like because she was wearing a top that she didn't want to wear. So she was like, can I borrow your t-shirt? So I was like, yeah. And it was this one I'd gotten in America, and I had like a baby Spider-Man on it, and it was really cute.
Oh.
And Hayley came out and came straight over to my friend and was like, oh my god, I love your t-shirt. And I was like,
rude.
Excuse me? That's my t-shirt. So I'm still a little bit
bitter.
salty about it. A little bit bitter about it, yeah. But it was just like, it was nice because everybody was clearly just like, there was only the 6 of us there, and we were all kind of like, hello,
Hey.
we're gonna come see you later. And like, she was just like super, super nice about it. Like, she was clearly exhausted as well, but like, she had no issue coming over and taking photos and just chatting to people. And then everybody was like, oh, we'll see you later. And it was so calm and so relaxed. And I feel like that's kind of the general, like, I think you're dead right, like, that they set really good boundaries, that people knew how to act around them and to not
freak out. So like I said in the first episode, I've only met them the once, but there was another time where HMV, RIP HMV, was on Grafton Street. They were doing this giveaway. So if you got like, I think there was like maybe 100 Paramore t-shirts, and there were these like really ugly like navy blue t-shirt with like a bowl of spaghetti and then like Paramore written out on the spaghetti. I'm pretty sure that was the t-shirt. If you went and bought one of those, you got like a meet and greet ticket. So my friends and I had already got early entry through the Paramore fan club. My friends and I, off we went, 6 a.m. bus out on Avon, up to Dublin. We were waiting, we went to the queue, but there's Dublin Paramore fans who got there way before us. And we didn't get a wristband for the meet and greet. Devastated. So yeah, we didn't buy the t-shirt. We're like, nah, that's, you know, it was horrible. It was really ugly. But there was lots of fans going round in them, and I was like, that was just a marketing ploy to get rid of this backlog of shitty looking Paramore t-shirts. But yeah, we ended up going and queuing up for the day, and I already had, like I said, early entry, but I still hung around in the freezing cold at the start of December because I wanted to try and meet Paramore. Like, we knew if we left the house early, like, there was no going home, like, that was it. We were out for the day. But yeah, no, we didn't win meet and greet tickets.
So
but I got to meet them eventually.
Which is good.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like they are a really great band to meet.
Yeah, they really are.
Like, and Hayley's really, really good at interacting with people, because she just kind of treats fans like they're people, which is what fans are, and like she's a people, so
she's a people.
I just remembered as well that she revealed that she left the band in 2015 for like a brief period, so that only Taylor York was the member.
Yes, I remember
like
that.
I mean, this band is like, I don't know how many times they've disbanded, rejoined, come together, tried to do, I mean, it's absolutely wild how many times that's happened. Like, and
I was gonna say, like, Hayley is the only one who's actually stayed, but she's not.
She's not. There's So there's not even the that.
And Jeremy Davis then left in 2015. He's been in like a legal battle with Paramore, claiming to be it's a business partnership, and he's the co-owner of the band. And
well, this is going back to what we were saying earlier about what Josh said about how Hayley's the only one actually signed to the label. Jeremy was also being treated like a session musician, so he wasn't being paid the same amount that Hayley was being paid, and he wasn't getting like, because you know, like when you get like royalties from the songs, and you get like money from the merch, and you get money, like you get paid when you play each night. So he was being like, she was getting a salary, and then some of that was going to him as opposed to him getting his own kind of thing. So he was getting a fraction of what she was being paid. So I think they resolved that, or he dropped it, or like something happened where they sorted something out. But like, I remember being really shocked by that too, because it was like, what else can happen to this?
Go on here.
And that was around the time that Hayley and Chad Gilbert from
New Found Glory.
Yeah,
they broke up. No, they got married and then they broke up. Spoiler. So that was around the time. So they announced After Laughter in 2016. So that was
the first Parahoy, actually, and I remember people saying that they, like, people when they talked about it, people were like, oh, we were asking Chad, oh, how's Hayley doing, and he was like, oh, she's fine, but like they'd actually split up like on that, and then they got back together, and then they split up again. Yes,
so that was around the time, that was around the time that Jeremy left, but they had, at the time, she had said that she had been suffering with her mental illness. Like, she said that it was torment, and she didn't laugh for a long time, was, you know, she was having issues with mental health. And then they announced, obviously, that they were doing the 5th album, and at that point, I think sometime after the 5th album was released, it was only a couple of weeks after we seen her in Dublin, so Paramore must seen her there, Freudian slip, when we seen Paramore play in Dublin. So they played the Olympia, which is probably the smallest Irish gig they've done to date.
Like, the Olympia has about a capacity of less than 3,000, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think it's something like that. It's like 2,500 or something like that. But they played that gig around the 16th of June 2017, and then a couple of weeks later, her and Chad announced that they were breaking up and obviously getting a divorce. I remember during that, like, watching that show and then thinking back on it, like, when I'd heard the news that they'd broken up, that, oh my god, she's on stage going through all this, and like you said in the last episode, and she's still fake happy, you know, she's putting on a smile, she's putting on a front, and that must have been so tough for her to do.
And like her whole, I mean, she started when she was 15.
Yeah,
It's like
so
her
young.
whole life has been
Paramore, that's all she's known.
So even if, I imagine, like, even if they did break up, like, soon, and like touch wood that they don't, because I don't want that to happen, but I feel like at that point she would have done her 5 albums and like lived her life and toured the world, and like she could be free to do other projects and free to like do whatever the hell she wanted, really. Like, exactly,
like at the moment as well, she's launched a hair dye company with her friend.
Feel free to sponsor us.
If you're listening, Hayley, this podcast could be sponsored by Good Dye Young.
But it's not.
But it's not yet. The goal.
Hashtag not spawn.
And she's loving that. Like, they post a lot of videos. I think this is something I'd always kind of seen her, I guess, going towards. I always thought there'd be like, you know, a Schwarzkopf by Hayley Williams kind of a line, or something like that, or
a makeup line, or like something.
Mac by Hayley Williams was like my dream. Did that happen?
I don't know, it may have been an actual dream you had.
Maybe it was an actual dream I had. I feel like, no, definitely
no. I feel like I would remember that.
I feel like this happened. Okay, we're gonna Google it.
Yeah, it did happen.
Oh my god, it happened.
I'm so sorry for doubting you, Clodagh. I'm so sorry.
For the first time in my life, I haven't dreamed something up. It's been real. Oh my god, yeah, so that happened. Because I could picture like the orange nail varnish in my head. I was never really into MAC because I was, you know, hashtag cruelty free. Yeah, that happened.
I don't remember this at all. Sounds like Noise Daydream. Oh, Daydreaming was the eyeshadow.
Yes.
And then Riot Gear was the
nail varnish.
The nail varnish. I actually kind of like the nail varnish. That's pretty cool. Not a fan of orange lipstick. To be H. Don't know why I didn't finish the to be H. Am I okay? Don't think so.
As well, I don't think they shipped to Ireland, because I was saying to Courtney earlier, like when I was younger, I used to like Hayley Williams was heavily featured on this blog website called stealherstyle.com, and when I was a teenager, when I was 15, 16, I was like a size 18, so it was hard for me to find the clothes that Hayley Williams would wear in my size, like, because she'd normally wear just, you know, whatever. Obviously she had it in her size, but I mean, like, the brand didn't expand up to my size, so anytime I would find something, the chances were high that I'd buy it. And I remember spending like 80 quid on this t-shirt that, like, it was a bit shite, but Hayley used to like cut her t-shirts at the neck and stuff like that, and she'd like alter them herself. Now I am absolutely a disaster with the scissors, so I spent 80 quid on this top, and then I went ahead and cut the neck off it, and it looked shocking. Done what I could to look like Hayley Williams, and didn't happen. It was shocking.
And like, I think the thing with Hayley is that there were no other emo girls on stage.
Cassidy Pope,
kind of,
but she didn't have like a defined style.
Yeah, so it was like when you talked about like that kind of scene, you were talking about Paramore, and she was the only girl on stage, and she was kind of the only style icon we had.
Yeah.
And I think I was trying to find the article I read where she talked about her clothes, but she kind of said that, you know, she thrift shops and she likes going for all these brands, and like I read an old LiveJournal post where she was like, oh, like even Miley Cyrus's Walmart like line is really cool. Like, she's got some really cool stuff, and she just liked interesting things.
Yeah.
And part of that was because she was so small that she could kind of get away with wearing anything she wanted. But she did kind of say later on that like part of it, like her outfits were like a costume for her. They were uniform. They were things she wore on stage. And it makes her happy now to go around to like thrift shops and like pick up whatever. And I think the thing about her is that because she's so focused on being herself and like being whatever she wanted to be, that everything that she did ended up being iconic. Like, we could talk about her hair for like forever. I'm sure
she's had so many different obviously she had red, yellow, orange. They were her like main ones. Then she went blonde, but then also she had like orange with yellow and yellow with red, and like all these
the orange
combinations. The orange and pink, oh my god, orange and pink like are my are two of my favorite colors, because they're so different, but they blend together so
Yeah.
well. And that hairstyle is just
Like
incredible.
that two-tone thing, like anytime you see anybody with two-tone hair,
You're like, Hayley Williams.
yeah. And like a girl I know, like not very well, but I follow her on Instagram, and she had like two-tone her hair, like going to
I follow the same person.
Do you?
Yes.
Okay. And she was like, I know it looks like
Hi
Hayley
for
Williams.
listening.
Hello. But like it looked awesome, but it was
Yeah.
so like you could see that that's where her inspiration was from, and it's just so iconic that that's like what you think of.
Yeah.
And even like when Hayley dyed her hair like white blonde, it was still like anybody who dyed their hair white blonde after that, you were like, it's because Hayley Williams did it, isn't it? And it's just like, it's wild that she literally did anything, and it was just, you knew that's where that came from.
Yeah.
And even like the outfits that they wore in Ms. Biz, like the two-tone trousers, and then like, I mean, like all of her outfits and all of her hair and everything that she has done is been iconic.
Oh yeah.
And it's literally like, she's not trying. It's not like Lady Gaga, who tries very, very, very hard to
Be eclectic. Yeah.
whereas like she just seems to be like, oh hey, I like this and I like this, I'm gonna mash them together. And she'd written a whole post some night on LiveJournal like in 2011 about how like she literally used to go to bed, and then when she was like, I have a whole day of interviews tomorrow, I'm gonna think about what clothes I'm gonna wear. And like she literally lie there and go, okay, this is when I'm gonna do my makeup, this is when I'm gonna do my hair. And it's just it's cool because it was part of it wasn't like she thought she needed to look a certain way. It was like literally, this is what made her calm, and this is what made her feel good to like focus on this thing that was expressing herself in a certain way. And that was kind of what we had to emulate. And like, it should have been a case of like, we could be anything, but it was more like, I want to look exactly like her.
Yeah, like I was obsessed. I still am. I think her style is incredible.
Yeah.
Like it's so quirky and cool and cute, and it's just amazing. Like I just wanted to dress like her so bad when I was younger, like block prints and block colours, but all those things were deemed unflattering for my body style. So I used to be so self-conscious about myself. Like even red trousers, as much as I loved wearing my red skinny jeans, my red skinny jeans, I was so conscious that red is a colour that makes you look bigger than you are, and you know, I was trying to fool everyone thinking that I was skinny, and I was so afraid of wearing it. But that's pretty much all we had to emulate. And then I started trying to dress like Gabe from Cobra Starship.
But that was like, it was such a harmless thing as well, because you're like, well, I like this thing, and I like wearing these clothes, and but like, you think back on all the pictures, and like all the emo girls look the same, and they'd all wear those like you can still buy them, you can still buy the Hell Bunny skirts that are like, you know, like maybe 10 inches long, and you're like, no, there is nobody in this world who can wear that as a skirt.
Yeah.
And they're like 50 quid, and you're like, why am I spending 50 quid on a belt? Like, what are you doing? But that was how they all dressed, and Hayley was like the only like person out there who was dressing in this kind of androgynous style, where like she could wear dresses if she wanted to, and she did in some videos and like on stage sometimes, but for the most part she was into the skinny jeans and like the general emo uniform that everybody was wearing at that time. And like, it was like an easy enough thing to copy. Like, I can wear red skinny jeans, or I can wear whatever. But it was a case of just getting a hold of the stuff.
Yeah, and her, like, going back to her hair, it was so like iconic. Like, I remember during my emo phase, my hair was like cherry red, like that kind of decode color, I guess. And I remember then like 2011, maybe 12, Rihanna dyed her hair red, and everyone in Dublin had red hair, and I was like, I liked it before it was cool. You know, in that typical angsty teenage fashion. And it was just so cool. As you can tell, I was a really cool teenager.
Yeah, we were all. That's why we're making a podcast about our childhood.
Because they're so cool.
And we're still cool, like 10 years later.
Exactly. So for me, like, the queuing up for gigs was like most of the fun. Like you said in our first episode, we met at we bumped into each other. We'd known each other previously at the Green Day gig, and we kind of hung out there. But there's so many gigs that I've been to where I've queued all day, where I've met people and I've made friends, like Family Force 5, Cobra Starship, Paramore. I've made friends, and I'm still to this day in contact with these people that I met in like 2010, and we've gone to gigs together. We still go to gigs together, and I think that's been such an important thing as well, not only to bond with my friends, but to have made other friends, especially when you're like of an age, like I said, I was homeschooled when I was that age, so the opportunity for me to make friends was second, like, you know, it was very small, so that I had this chance to go to these gigs, speak to new people with different perspectives on life and different perspectives on the world, and I got to hang out with them and talk about our favourite bands.
But that's so nice, and it's such
So nice.
it's such a wholesome thing to do.
It's so wholesome.
So I remember actually the last time they played the O2 or the 3 Arena or whatever the heck it's called, I had started, either I had moved from full-time to part-time in a job and I had to do training, like, and again, I think for my job that I was doing, because I was switching to like a different area, but I had tickets to see Paramore. I don't know, it must have been when I switched to part-time. So that would have been 2013 then. So that was the Monday after I'd met Paramore in the airport. So they must have come over 2 days earlier or something. And I literally was like, hi, can I leave like early to go to Paramore? And they were like, yeah, that's fine. So I remember like getting changed in the bathroom and running over, and like queuing for ages, even though there was no need to, but it was still like, that's just what you did. Like,
Yeah.
you know, you'd get in and you get as close to the stage as you could. But I remember actually that show as well, it was like when more people had started going, but people were like literally standing in the crowd talking, and they were talking over Hayley.
Yeah.
And that like really, really annoyed me. And it was like, well, how did it go from like everybody's there to have a good time to you're an idiot with a beer drinking in the middle of the crowd? Like, can you actually shut up?
Yeah.
just like, if you want to have a chat, go outside. I didn't understand that. But that was the O2 gig. So did you go to the one where they played in the RDS?
I actually, no, I missed that one.
I didn't either. So
I think I've been to every other gig that they've played in Ireland though. I think I missed one in Belfast because I was like going on holidays the next day or something like that. I couldn't go up. But I've seen every other one and I'm so excited for them to come back. They played in the UK at the start of last year and I regret not going over to see them. Really, I do.
it would have been good. And like the fact that we've been to the same shows is really funny.
Yeah, exactly.
But, like, we didn't know each other, which is really
know.
strange. So I was at like the first O2 gig, and that was like the first time that I got to go to something that I was really excited about.
Yeah.
So it was like, it wasn't a pop artist, it was like somebody that I kind of like cultivated a love for by myself.
Yeah.
And I just like, I was only 15 as well, like it was just magical. And then the second show I met Alexi, who wrote our theme tune. Wow. Who wrote our theme song, or co-wrote our theme song. I just like talked to him in the crowd, and it was like he was somebody that I knew kind of like to see, or like we were friends on Facebook or whatever. I'd see him around sometimes, but like it was actually his fault that I met my boyfriend, because he came over to say hi to me at like a random show in the Twisted Pepper, which is not R.I.P. the Twisted Pepper as well. But like he came over to say hi, and he just happened to have Michael with him, so like if I hadn't met him back then, it probably wouldn't have happened.
Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah, because Michael doesn't like leaving his house. Sorry for roasting you on Michael is also our sound engineer.
So we did meet people and like form great friendships. One person that I met was, her name is Megan. Hi Megan. She sent us in a story that I'm going to read out. Megan and I met in the queue for Paramore in 2010, because she had a magazine with Harry Styles on the front of it, and she lent it to me to read, and we started talking.
Aww.
And we became friends. So she was at Parahoy, the second Parahoy, and she sent us in this memory. She says, I was too broke for the first Parahoy and knew as soon as the second one was announced that I was going to make it happen, despite the deadly fear of the ocean, and I'm glad I did. I am terrified of the ocean as well, side note, so I don't know if I'd been up for a Parahoy. The thought of being on a boat with the hardcore dedicated fans is honestly sickening to me these days, but it really didn't feel like that. Everyone met the night before at the pre-cruise Hard Rock Cafe party, which we carried on into Hooters, and we had like a 15-song Paramore jam. Even the bar manager gave us money for the jukebox because it was bringing customers in. Parahoy was so relaxed and so much better than any festival I've ever been to. There's honestly nothing greater than sailing in the middle of the ocean, disconnected from the world, with a pina colada the size of your face, watching your favourite band perform dressed as Baby Spice. Parahoy usually has different set lists from the tours, and the second Parahoy, her first one, felt more special because it was just after Jeremy had left, and we were kind of expecting the low down on that, but we just got pressure with no backflip, and the first play of Oh Star in an Age. What a bop. After the first set, my friend and I were walking onto the elevator on our floor, and we bumped into Taylor. He looked pretty scared that he had bumped into us, but then when he realised we were chill, he spoke with us about the show for a couple of minutes and then got into the elevator with us. Woo. And then in brackets she has Clodagh. When I tell you this is the greatest thing that's ever happened to me, I'm not lying. And everyone was so chill that Taylor took photos with all of us. And this is, like I said earlier, they had like set these boundaries for, like, you know, don't freak out when you see us on the boat. Each day on the cruise is a different theme, which kind of spices it up a little and makes it a bit different from normal cruises or festivals. One night was prom, one night was masquerade, and it gave everyone an excuse to doll up. When we were pina colada happy at 2 a.m, we ran to the 24-hour buffet, she has that in caps, and bumped into Taylor York dressed in a sailor outfit, drunk enough again to agree to take pictures with us. So Paramore 2 had a pre-sale perk of having a photo op with the band. This made it sell out before general sale, and Paramore really regretted it, but it was really nice to see them and get a quick hello. My friend hadn't met them before, so he was fussing over Hayley with our roommates, but Taylor was always been my number one. So when I was chatting to him, we were told to get in line for a photo, and Hayley said she loved my hair, and all the years of bleaching and crazy colours and idolising her hair flashed right before my eyes. Hayley Williams loves my hair. Every time I've met her, she's complimented something about my style, my outfit, my hair, my nails. They're the sweetest band I've ever met and seem to genuinely care about their fans, whether it's taking time to meet them, bringing people on stage, or interacting with them online. Between Paramore 2 and Paramore 3, I saw Paramore 9 times on 2 tours because I cannot get over them, and they're the one band I can listen to without getting sick of. I think Hayley being so open about her mental health makes it really easy to relate to them, and every album just seems to be exactly what I'm thinking or feeling at that period in my life. When After Laughter was released, it was automatically one of those albums I needed to hear on a cruise, and the same day they announced Paramore 3. When we were aboard in the boat this time, Paramore were walking behind us, but we didn't say hi to them because we didn't want to bother them, but it still got us really buzzed for the cruise. The Paramore 3 had such a different vibe to the second one. The last cruise, everyone was super emo, and all thought Paramore were going to split up because Jeremy left, but now that Zach was back and they realised what I think is to be their best album. It felt so summery and carefree. After Laughter is definitely the kind of album to listen to en route to the Bahamas with your best friends and unlimited alcohol, which seems to be a theme in this message, Megan. So yeah, she said she's seen Paramore 20 times now, and even multiple times in the same tour. Every show is different. I will happily continue to spend my salary on cruises and tours for them. Aww. Which is very sweet.
That is really sweet, and I feel like that's the overall feeling a lot of people kind of communicate when they talk about Paramore and they talk about their interactions with them. I remembered while you were talking that I've seen them as well at Leeds Festival. They headlined like the second day, and I was really sick and it was really rainy, but it was so nice because I'd never seen them. Well, no, I had seen them outdoors. That's a complete lie. I'd seen them
with a green day.
Yeah, so there was no point to that. It was just nice. I liked it. It was good. But yeah, they really it's amazing how long they've lasted and how much they've changed and how dedicated their fan base is. And I feel like you could say that about a lot of emo bands.
Yeah.
There's just a particular sense about them. I think it's the fan base is quite calm, and you keep seeing people talk about their memories of them, and it's real chill like that, where they're like, oh, I just ran into whoever, or like I met them at a airport, or I met them at this like signing and it was really nice and they said nice things to me, and they're just really freaking good at making people feel comfortable and at like treating them like people, and I think that's part of what makes them so special.
Definitely. I think that they're so readily to connect with their fans, and that's what it is for me as well. Like, they're so willing to host meet and greets, and unlike other bands, they don't charge for them. I mean, they did charge for their fan club, which we spoke about in the last one.
We heard all about how angry Clodagh is about that $30.
Yeah, I can't believe I spent $30 a year, and they're like, we're gonna give it free now. Like, rude. I want to meet you again. But I really hope that they drop something soon, maybe another singles club type thing. But yeah, I miss them.
Me too. And here's to more
Paramore memories.
Here's to Paramore.
Paramore. I like it.
Yeah.
And in case you don't know already, my friends, I'll tell you, we